Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, and welcome to the Steadfast and Loyal podcast.
You gotta light 'em up before they burn it down. Better dig deep and put 'em in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Save us all. They're gonna burn it down. Save us all before they burn it down.
This episode of the Steadfast and Loyal podcast brought to us by our friends at the United States Concealed Carry Association. Click Learn More below right now to activate your U.S. Concealed Carry Association membership. The United States Concealed Carry Association helps responsibly armed Americans like you and I prepare for the before, during, and after of a self-defense incident. USCCA members get life-saving education, expert training, plus self-defense liability insurance. Plus, it's risk-free with their money-back bulletproof guarantee. Click Learn More right now to explore membership, and don't wait until it's too late. Click Learn More right now. And as always, the United States Concealed Carry Association is not an insurance company. A policy has been issued to the USCCA by Universal Fire and Casualty Insurance Company. That policy provides the association and its members with self-defense liability insurance subject to its terms, conditions, limitations, and exclusions. Hey, greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the Steadfast and Loyal podcast. I'm joined now with Daniel Miller. Daniel Miller is the president and the head and the founder of the Texas Nationalist Movement, Texas Now. He is also a former candidate for lieutenant governor here in the state of Texas. And I thought it'd be a great thing since we're starting the 88th legislative session and with all that's going on our border, to get his thoughts, perspectives, and insights about what we see and how does Texas and how does the Texas Nationalist Movement play into what is happening. So, Daniel, thanks for joining us here at the Steadfast and Loyal podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, we used to be out there on the campaign trail seeing each other all the time, but that's
Absolutely.
All right. Let's talk about where we are, the 88th legislative session. Some people kind of feel that the whole Texas movement lost some steam coming out of the 87th session. But are you still out there? Is it still a viable movement? Do you still have the level of support that you had?
Yeah, I mean, look, absolutely. Anyone who says we lost steam coming out of the 87th just hasn't really been paying attention. Mm-hmm. Two big bombshells that I think really counter that really happened back to back. Yeah. Number one, the Republican Party of Texas added not one but two planks to the platform calling for a Texas vote. And then, of course, right on the heels of that announcement, the results of that, we had that big bombshell poll that dropped from Survey USA showing that 66% of likely voters in Texas would vote for Texas if it were on the ballot. So, we're full steam ahead. We know that if it goes to a vote, it wins, and it doesn't win by a little, it wins by a lot. Just getting us there through the 88th is going to be the real hard part.
Now, so what are the efforts that you're doing? The 88th session just kicked off about 10 days ago. You have a strong grassroots presence. Are you going to continue that presence down there to try to get that vote? You had Kyle Biederman over in the State House that was really carrying the water with that piece of legislation, that bill. Of course, it never got to see the light of day. So who is your champion now in the Texas State House to try to get this across the finish line?
Yeah, unlike last time, we worked with Kyle principally, and he was really our point man. Right now, we're talking to a lot of different legislators before this bill gets filed. The draft is already out of Ledge Council, so we've got that squared away. But we're being very deliberate and very strategic with our approach this time. We kind of have a tendency to say here at the TNM that last session we went hard, and this session we're going smart.
Now, the amazing thing is, I was the chairman of the Republican Party at the time, and people asked me, well, why are you supporting this? I said, why can't the people have a vote?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this is all about, allowing the people to truly have their voices heard. So again, how do you continue to make that case? And also, do you think that what is happening with our border is really, a good spark and impetus behind what you see with your movement?
Yeah, and let me take the border issue first because I think it's really key to this discussion. For the last 15 years, third party polling has shown that the border and immigration combined are the number one concern for Texas voters, and what we've got there is both a great case for Texas, but also high motivation for Texas voters to begin to have this discussion. So, when people here in Texas are looking at the crisis on the border, and it is a crisis, it's an invasion by every definition of the word, it's an invasion. When they look at it and they look at what the federal government is doing to facilitate it, but on the other hand, looking at what some of the other elected officials here in Texas are doing, their sort of half measures to address it. It's bringing more and more of them to the realization that we've got to get this vote on Texas becoming a self-governing independent nation. The bottom line is Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution guarantees us that right. It not only says that all political power is inherent in the people, but it reserves to the people that inalienable right to alter, reform, or abolish our government in such manner as we may think expedient. So it's time to put our relationship with the federal government on the table, put it up for discussion, and then put it up for a vote.
So many people will look and say this is a pipe dream. This can never happen. Can Texas really sustain itself as this separate Republic of Texas once again? You wrote a book about it. How do you answer to some of those assertions coming from your detractors?
Oh, well, look, I like to primarily deal with Texicans and not Texicants, right? But here's the bottom line. If you look around the world right now, there are roughly over 200 self-governing independent nations around the world. Since World War from World War II to today, that number has increased by about 140 to 150. Those were all people that are just like us, that felt that the best people to govern them just happened to be them. And you look at all the measure that, all of the various metrics that you have for measuring, whether it's the GDP, whether it's population, whether it's, any type of measurement whatsoever. And you look at those countries and you say, well, look, if they can do it, what do they have that we don't have? At the end of the day, if Texas can't make it, no one can. We have the ninth largest economy in the world. We have one of the most vibrant populations. We have this incredible independent streak that says if you want something done, you tell a Texan it can't be done, and it'll get done. The reality of it is that anyone who thinks it's a pipe dream is just not paying attention. This is this idea, this move towards autonomy, self-government, self-determination has been a global trend, for the last 75 years. And it's washing up on the shores now as we begin to question everything about our relationship with the federal government and whether or not it is the best way to preserve freedom in Texas.
Well, when you read the Declaration of Independence and it says that free and independent states created these United States of America, it wasn't the other way around. And then, of course, you understand that system of federalism and you look at the Constitution, you see very specifically in Article 1, Section 8, the 17 or so duties, responsibilities, jurisdictions, and purviews of the federal government. Of course, the 10th Amendment says all of those powers not specifically delegated to the federal government are reserved to the states and to the people. So it's so important, I think, that we have this discussion in civics and we get that right relationship reestablished with the states and the federal government. Now, you talked about population. When you look at the hundreds of thousands, probably close to millions that are moving into Texas from California, Illinois, New Jersey, do you think they understand the essence of what it means to be here in Texas? Do they understand Texas history? Because as you and I well know, what is happening in these major urban population centers with these school districts, and maybe in some of the rural school districts, they're trying to whitewash Texas history.
Oh yeah, I mean, when we founded the TNM, if you look carefully at our mission, you will see that we're dedicated to the political, cultural, and economic independence of Texas. You know, it's something that we glean from studying independence movements and national independence around the world, and you know, the cultural aspect of it is big. But you know, when we talk about the net ingress, you know, these people that are relocating to Texas. We've seen that before. We saw it in the 1830s when people were painting GTT on their doors, gone to Texas, and coming here to make a new life. The challenge that we've got now is that there are people that are fleeing other states, and for whatever rationale they're utilizing. But interestingly enough, although there is a concern that they will sort of shift the mindset to where they came from, I think there's far more evidence right now to show that the people that are fleeing New York and California are effectively political, cultural, and economic refugees. Yeah. They are running from those policies that turned their states into failed states and are moving here. The question really becomes how quickly we can, you know, get them sort of ingrained in a political movement so that we can fight back against some of these attempts by the progressives and the woke to fundamentally transform what it means to be Texan.
Yeah, because I think that there are two different types of person that's coming to Texas. You've got the individuals who are, as you just stated, they're refugees, and Elon Musk even drew this different delineation. But when you go out and you recruit a lot of these businesses and corporations to come here, you find that their employment base that comes along with them. Look at Austin, where you have grown this tech base and Meta and everything like that. They tend to, you know, still hold on to the failed policies of where they were, not realizing that the main reason why their corporation is uprooting from these places is because of those failures. So how can your organization do better in getting into a place like Austin, or, you know, where I live in Dallas County, which went for Robert Francis O'Rourke by 63%.
Wow.
And we don't have a Republican county commissioner in not to say the Republican it has anything to do with it, but we don't have a Republican county commissioner in Dallas County. So how can you get in these major urban population centers where these people think that, oh, you know, we're more intellectual and more intelligent than you are, and make a difference?
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, for many years now, the highest concentration per capita of Texas support in the state has been in Houston proper, which I think is a pretty shocking statistic for people. But, you know, that's per capita. Yeah. And so the question we get an awful lot is, how in the world have we been able to make inroads into these major cities? And I'll tell you what we're dealing with, and part of it gets down to sort of that partisan divide, but what we're dealing with is a lot of potential votes that are sitting on the bench that have lost faith in the system, that have lost faith in the process. For all intents and purposes, they are disenfranchised. You know, they have the opportunity to vote, contrary to the left's narrative about voter suppression. They have the ability to do it. But what they've lost is faith and confidence in the system to make any substantial change or impact on their lives. So what we have found is the Texas issue is a phenomenal issue to go into these places that obviously the Republican Party can't go to or hasn't been able to. You attempted to do that when you were the RPT chair and fought through a ton of friction over that, you know, when you were going down fighting in the Rio Grande Valley and the urban areas. And it's also a place that the Democrats essentially take for granted. So we're able to go in there with an economic or with a political and economic message that says simply this: how would you like to be able to affect change in the system for the first time in your life? How would you actually like to have a say in how you're governed? And when we talk about things like how the federal government has negatively impacted the economy through things like federal regulatory accumulation. Federal regulations are making us all about 85% poorer, and they have destroyed the bridge from poverty to prosperity, which is entrepreneurship. They've made the barrier too high. So when we go in with a message that says that Texas is an opportunity for you for the first time to actually have a say in how you're governed and improve your economic circumstances and improve your communities, and it's something that neither party has really honed in on or focused on, it gives us a tremendous opportunity to have those conversations. It's one of the reasons that the demographics of the Texas nationalist movement more closely match the demographics of Texas as a whole than either major political party, and that's part of the reason.
Rules and regulations are not laws. And I think, again, it comes back to that Civics 101 discussion. We're a republic. We're not, a constitutional monarchy. All of these things that you have, so much is on your side. So what do you see are the biggest obstacles to you? Because what the left is going to say, and the left is very entrenched here in certain media outlets, even in Texas. And, their main thing is to demonize and denigrate and disparage. So what are your main obstacles for the Texas nationalist movement?
Look, this is I make no bones about it. This is really not a kind of a red-blue issue, left-right issue. This is a people versus the political establishment issue. When you look at the political establishment in Austin, you're going to find that by and large, from a policy standpoint, there's not a dime's worth of difference between most of them. And so consequently, that is really the biggest issue. You take the opposition that we have in the political establishment in the legislature, and what they will tell you is we don't even need to talk about this. They'll tell you all the normal treason, sedition. They'll say all that. But what their big follow-up is they say, well, no one believes in this. This is a fringe idea. It's crazy. Well, we absolutely know that that's not the case. Third-party polling over the years has shown, again, I go back to that Survey USA poll back in the summer. If it goes to a vote, it wins. But take what they say at face value, that literally no one believes in this, that this is all hype, it's all illusion, it's all knee-jerk. Then let's put it on the ballot and find out. If they put it on the ballot and let us vote on it, one of two things is going to happen. The people are going to vote yes, or they're going to vote no. If they vote no in the numbers and the opposition is proven right, then, what they've done is they have sealed the deal. They have said that this Texas belongs as part of the union and that it is fringe. But their fear is when they put it on the ballot, the people will vote for it in the numbers that, that are according to those polls that we've all seen. That the people are going to have a very honest and frank discussion about our relationship with the federal government. They're even going to ask a lot of uncomfortable questions about governance here in Texas. And then they are going to decide. And frankly, let's be honest, a lot of the political establishment in Austin do not like the rocks being kicked over and sunlight being that disinfectant that it is.
Yeah, transparency is very good. And it's interesting, calling people treasonous and seditious. Well, the folks that are allowing our border to be overrun by, illegal immigrants, you would think that is treasonous and seditious itself. So let's talk about going through this year. Are there going to be town halls, forums, things of this nature that people can come out and learn more about the Texas nationalist movement?
Absolutely. Look, we're, outside of the Republican and Democratic Party, the TNM is the single largest political advocacy organization in the state. We have meetings and local groups and events and outreach and everything you can possibly imagine going on all across the state, almost every single solitary day. So what I would encourage people to do is, obviously do your due diligence. If they want to know more, they can go to texitnow.org. They can get all their questions answered. But at the end of the day, Texit only happens if we make it happen. It says that all political power is inherent in the people, not the politicians, the pollsters, the pundits, or the propagandists masquerading as journalists. It's about people. And ultimately, for this to happen, it's going to take people, and it's going to take a lot of them. When Article 1, Section 2 says that the people have an inalienable right to alter, reform, or abolish. It's an inalienable right, just like we have our right to keep and bear arms and our freedom of speech and, every other right that we think of as inalienable. And so when an establishment politician denies us our right to have our voices heard on how we should govern ourselves moving forward, we have to begin to think of it as though they are depriving us of our right to keep and bear arms or our right to freedom of speech. We wouldn't tolerate it there, and we shouldn't tolerate it here.
Well, as it says in the U.S. Declaration of Independence, the government exists under the consent of the governed. And so I think that what you're doing is an incredible service for us here in Texas, because we're supposed to ask questions. We're supposed to challenge those who have governing, quote unquote, authority over us, but they have to understand that that authority comes from us. And of course, the ultimate authority giver, and that is God. Last word, Daniel Miller.
Yeah, look, Colonel. First off, I appreciate you having me on, but I will leave you with a question that I have been asking people, no matter whether I'm in Texas or anywhere else. And what I would like to do, and I'll make it Texas specific, is I'll make it just ask this: look at the Texas issue this way. Instead of looking at Texas, think about if Texas was right now a self-governing independent nation in every respect, just like the 200 other around the world. We had control over our own border and immigration policy, our own taxation and monetary policy. We could cut our own trade deals. We had our own military, our own national defense policy. We had everything that 200 other countries around the world have. And instead of talking about Texas, we were talking about whether or not we should give all of that up and join the union. Knowing everything you know about the federal government right now, today, would you vote to join? And if you wouldn't vote to join, then why in the world would you ever stay one day longer than you have to?
Amazing point. And I think that when you have a federal government that disrespects the sovereignty of the free and independent states in the United States of America, it's a good question to ask. Daniel Miller, thank you so much, the head of the Texas Nationalist Movement and Texas Now. And again, what's that website where people can follow you?
They can head over to texitnow.org.
Thank you so much, Daniel. God bless you. And it's great to see you, and Happy New Year and lots of success.
Thank you, Colonel. It's good to see you again.
Roger that. I want to thank Daniel Miller for joining us and sharing his thoughts, perspectives, and insights on the sovereignty of the great state of Texas and the challenges that we have thereof. And if you like this podcast, again, please click the like button and share it with others so that we can make sure that everyone remains steadfast and loyal.
Before they burn it down.